so-called flying saucers.
There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. It's rotating.
Welcome to Kill the Stigma. So today we're going to be talking about Dr. James Lackatski. Dr. James Lackatski is a rocket scientist. The rumors are, and in fact it's not a rumor, it's pretty much, he admits it, even though he doesn't say much, he doesn't deny it, and he's put on a book that he was reverse engineering UFOs. Basically, is the implication. So this doctor is, an engineer, rocket scientist trying to reverse engineer UFOs, but he doesn't want to testify with Congress. He doesn't want to do any of that. But here's why I'm bringing this up. Because David Rush was in charge of the witnesses who were going to testify, right? But I remember Eric Burleson in a space got asked about, hey, what about Jay Stratton? And Burleson was like, And I think it's because Rush respects Jay Stratton. That was kind of, they were working together. And he's not going to put him in an uncomfortable position. And I wonder if something similar is happening with Lackatski, or is it just simply that Congress disclosure is dead with Congress? That Congress has been intimidated. They don't have the balls, or they don't want to deal with this because it's too risky and too much of a mess, which, okay, kind of is, but whatever, doesn't matter. It's the truth and it's in your face, whether you want to call them UFOs or mystery drones or whatever. It's a problem. It's a big problem, and it's not going away. It's getting more intense and more intense and more intense. So, in history, do you want to be remembered as a coward, or I apologize, maybe that was too much of a strong word, or someone who had guts, But I don't know, because I wonder, even the people that are pro-disclosure, I wonder now, have they given up on this? Now that their team is in power in the White House, has anything changed? I don't know. Anyways, let's see what David Rush had to say about Lackatski back in the day, and how he felt about Lackatski testifying. Let's go.
But he did make that disclosure on video as well, and I do encourage both the Aero Office, which is the DoD's UAP task force successor, and Congress to ask Dr. James Lackatski to come in for classified testimony, because the disclosure in his one book that he wrote with Colin Kelleher, George Knapp, and then the second book, well, the guy saying he has close personal knowledge, he needs to go to Congress. So I don't know James Lackatski, but I do encourage him to be a fact witness. But going back to that transfer with Lockheed, long story short, can't get into all the nuanced details, but basically the CIA said fuck DIA and Lockheed, and it was totally killed.
So there you see David Rush. He wants Lackatski to testify under oath to Congress. Now, this was right after the hearings, and David Rush was working with Eric Burleson, and he set this last hearing up. So why didn't he call Lackatski? You got to ask yourself that. And also, why doesn't Lackatski want to testify? I suspect I think I know why. It's not, I don't necessarily think it's a psyop, although kind of is. In a way, it's, I know, it's so frustrating. What I mean is the whole thing with national security, the balance, I understand he wants to control that. He doesn't want any information leaked to adversaries. I honestly do understand that. I get that. But it's hard, man. It's hard. It's complicated because we're never gonna get the full truth, right? But honestly, I don't care about the weapons and stuff. Like, I just want to. Do we got aliens or not, bro? Like, let me see them aliens. You know what I mean? that's it. That's what I care about, at least. But other people care about their stuff. You got Greer with his, free energy and all that, and he's got interesting points. But I just want to know, are we alone or not? Now, another thing that we learned, and maybe Grush didn't know this back then, Jim Semivan said that he didn't. But the thing is that the legacy program that works on UFOs and reverse engineering UFOs is not a congressional program. It's in the executive branch. Now, what? The United States is a constitution. You know, the Constitution of the United States, we're a democracy. Doesn't make sense. Congress has to know all the facts, right? Well, actually, no, not at all. In fact, these days you can just go bomb another country and not even ask Congress. But that's a whole nother separate topic. But my point is, what was I? I got lost there. Dang it, tangents. Okay, but the UFO program, back to the 40s, it falls under a presidential emergency action document. A PEAD is what they call them. Now, much is known about these documents. They remain classified, most of them, but it's like a way for the president has the power to do whatever the hell he wants when he uses those. And I can see this topic being kind of intense and dramatic, so Congress apparently has no need to know. And I also wonder, maybe Congress already does know, all right? Like, maybe they've been briefed. Maybe they know what's going on. Maybe they got told, like, listen, you got to back off. You know what I mean? Like, think about it. I mean, my last episode, you saw the Matthew Brown, Immaculate Constellation, the hearings with Will Elizondo and all that. And the staffers, how they were freaking out in that hearing and just all over the place. And Matthew Brown said that he was enjoying seeing them panic in real time, and it was pretty obvious. So I do think Congress knows. Jared Moskowitz was like, in fact, they tell us not to ask certain questions about certain topics. Why is that? All right? So, yeah. Anyways, let's get back to Lackatski.
Jim, Dr. Lackatski, I believe that you have made it clear that you were in contact with Congress. I know that you were asked about testifying and you declined. Do you feel that telling Congress all of what you know would constitute a possible threat? That, a mutual friend of ours, of mine and yours and Column's, has said it many times, you can't tell your friends without telling your enemies. Well, do you think that telling Congress the lowdown on things that you really know but can't say here would represent a likely threat that information would be linked to our adversaries and enemies?
That's my personal belief. I mean, there's two things I said. That's in response to your mention of Congress contacting me. One, and I repeated this to multiple folks, I don't want to get involved in what would appear to be a three-ring circus right now. It's too much for me. That's why I'm devoting, and I don't get involved in answering things in Twitter, which I easily could, or Reddit, which I easily could. I want it to be documented in these DoD-approved books. That's my method of saying what I have to say. Do I have a lot more that I could say and that will be seen perhaps if it's approved? Yes. I can tell you with skinwalkers at the Pentagon, they had a number of comments that I felt were really legitimate security observations, that it needed to be changed. But did the story still come through? Absolutely yes. I mean, what's the old saying? There's more than one way to skin a cat, whatever that means. But There's just there are multiple ways of doing it, and we're trying to, Colin and I and George are trying to. Now, George is good at pushing, and so are you. You know, push the limits, push the limits. Well, we can write whatever we want, but if it doesn't get by DOD review, then, you know, we're kind of wasting our time. I think we know what are red lines not to cross. And going to Congress would be a red line to me personally, because I talk too much. I say too much, but I purposely cut it off right here.
Well, what if you were subpoenaed, though? I mean, you know, they're trying to do that in Congress. They're trying to subpoena people and say, hey, Dr. Lackatski, you know, you've worked on...
These are false rumors about Dr. Lackatski.
Okay, but hold on. If you're subpoenaed and asked to tell the truth, you're under oath.
First of all,
right?
Would you tell the truth? Let's use the old phrase, let's cross that bridge when we come to it.
Okay.
All right, so this is interesting because Lackatski, in the latest interview, he said he hasn't been in touch with Congress at all. And maybe I just need more information on the time frame that he's talking about. I'm not really sure. But it's funny because the last interview, you can tell he's nervous. He does not want to testify in front of Congress, man. He doesn't want to get involved in it. I think it's because he's got, you know, he may be sympathetic to the gatekeepers a little bit, or honestly, it might be he's a patriot and he doesn't want to, I don't know. He seems nervous about going to Congress. But he says it's a freaking circus. It's insane. He basically thinks what they're doing is a disaster. It's a mess. Now, the latest interview, he's a little bit more professional about it. He's like, look, I'm a professional, man. I'm a professional. I'm not going to give my honest opinion. But you can tell he's like, it's a disaster. It's really what he's thinking. But he did kind of give his opinion on the last interview. And honestly, I'm struggling with this whole Congress disclosure. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know if we have the politicians we need. I don't know. I'm skeptical, you know, and I'm not saying disclosure is dead, but the whole thing with Congress and all that, we're going to have to wait and see, because there's another play in all this. It's like the phenomenon. What's going to happen? Are we going to get more flaps? You know? I don't know. Are we going to get other shoot downs like the Chinese balloon and the other three that followed? Like, well, what's going to happen? We don't freaking know. We have no idea. No idea. So it's complicated. But one thing is for sure, slowly but surely, very slowly, people are waking up and getting used to the idea of not being alone. I mean, really, you just do a little bit of research and it's pretty obvious. Not to go on a tangent, but just look up 1994 Zimbabwe, 1966 Western Australia. The one 1994 was in Africa or South Africa, Zimbabwe. You know, you look at cases like Virginia, 1996, Brazil. I don't know how you cannot understand that this is happening. But let's get back to Lackatski.
Reading. So, as way of background, I was the creator and DIA program manager of OSAP, the Advanced Aerospace Weapon System Applications Program, and of the follow-on Kona Blue program, KBP. Both classified programs, regardless of what the internet has said in the past, both classified. Now, other than your invitation, guess that would have been 2 months ago now, no one from the House Oversight UAP Investigational Committee of Congress has ever, after multiple hearings, contacted me.
So see, this is where I have questions, because George Knapp on 2 years ago was like, I know Congress is talking to you. So, what the heck? Now, look what he says, what he's about to say now, because maybe this is what he's talking about.
Right at the beginning, I had a phone call where a young lady and her partner, a male, who never said another word other than introducing himself, went through a checklist and said, what did I think of these people? Well, as a professional, what am I supposed to say? They're great or they're rotten? I just gave a generic answer. So now here's the thing that's very important. And I want to use that as a proper term. The public's, yours, George's, and my testimony is contained in the books. They are complete. I'll tell you in a moment how difficult that was to do, but they are complete. That's everything that I have been approved to say condensed into what will be 1,200 pages.
All right, so now he goes into his books, and it sounds like he is plugging his books, but he does make a good point. He's like, look, all the information's in the book, way more than Congress could ever get in a hearing. It's been Dobson approved. He's very, strict about that. And I read the books. Because I just did. Right? Like he said that I'm gonna read those books, and I read them, and it's interesting. There's a lot of data there. There's a lot of scientific data that just goes over my head. I don't understand. But there's some interesting points, like they talk about Roswell materials gained from Roswell. They talk even about materials gained from the 1897 flap. The 1897 flap in Aurora, Texas. That crash. And he goes into different ratios and whatever things that. Now, what is he trying to do? I think I know. Controlled disclosure. Because if you have a hearing, you have, the public going crazy, this massive wave of questions to the government that might put them in a uncomfortable position. Well, if you just release the information by books, then there's no catastrophic disclosure. Who the heck is going to buy that book anyway? We got a better chance with the Age of Disclosure, that documentary that's coming out, which I guarantee at the end of the day, look, James Fox has already done Moment of Contact, the phenomena. Like, this stuff's is real, man, and people, the information's out there. Now, a lot of us want justice to, a lot of people felt crazy for the longest time, and it's a lonely place to be. And you have the reprisals, and it gets very dark, man. It gets very dark, and a lot of us want justice for that, and myself included. I just need to find. I want to know who is it to blame, right? Because I'm not sure it's Chris Mellon, Lou Elizondo, and Carl, whatever you named. I don't think it's James Lackatski. I don't think it's them. I think I don't really have the answer, but I want to find out. Look, here's the thing. Congress already knows. They're not, the people on top of them are not supportive of this, all right? Another point that Lackatski talks about is Arrow. Arrow's the one approving these. And one of the things he mentions in one of his books is an important gatekeeper to this topic. Now, one of the very important points he makes is Arrow is the one that's reviewing their books. His books have to get approved by Arrow. And he goes into one of his books, not the newest one, the one before that, how how the whole thing with Arrow started. He's goes on about the UAP task force, Jay Stratton, and how that group was pro disclosure, trying to get to the bottom of it. And then all of a sudden they start AOIMSG, which then turned into Arrow. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, boom, Jay Stratton, goodbye. And it's interesting because who was Sean Kirkpatrick's boss? Kathleen Hicks. I think it was Deputy Undersecretary of Defense Kathleen Hicks. And, there's a really good interview out there with Jon Stewart about the DOD failing audits with her. Look it up, Kathleen Hicks and Jon Stewart. It's really interesting. Jon Stewart's pretty smart, so he did pretty good in that interview. But it's not even funny, dude. It's not even funny. It's a lot of money missing. Anyways, Kathleen, James Lackatski describes her in a book as a eagle to this topic. She's out there paying attention to everything that goes on with this topic, reacting. When David Grush came out, that was a panic moment for these people. And Arrow, Kathleen Hicks, it was a panic moment. And, he describes how that happened, the hearings, and then Arrow was, responding in real time, kind of. They started the website. It's a bunch of back and forth. It's really interesting. Anyways, that's all I got for now. I just want to say, I don't think Lackatski's a bad guy. I think we should listen to what he has to say, but it's just also disappointing that, I'm sorry, I do want catastrophic disclosure. And do I? Do I really? What do I want? What do I want? See my, the government collapses, and then, we might get there, and I might be like, maybe that wasn't a bad idea. That wasn't a good idea after all. I really don't know what I want. I don't know. But I do want justice. I do want to make right for all the people that have come out and spoken in favor of this topic. From Donald Kehoe back in the 50s to experiences whistleblowers, people that have risked it all. You feel me? Yeah. Who's making people suffer reprisals? Who is, David Grush is a good example. He's been through hell. His wife has been through some stuff too. Who is behind that? That's what I want to know. Who's behind that? It's insane, dude. It's and it's a problem. It becomes such a, it's become so conspiratorial. And, if you're a scientist looking into this, you're like, oh, I want to get into conspiracy. I'm sorry. But honestly, a topic as big as non-human intelligence and, affecting the trajectory of the human race, who knows how intense that would be, how important it would be to people in the national security apparatus. I want to know why. Why go that far? What is it, man?